guess the hardest part for me to get started, I live in California, and there's a lot of people who live in these big metropolitan areas.
Right.
And the cost of living is crazy. When my parents were my age, their monthly rent was only like $200 a month.
Right.
Now for me, it's around $2,400 a month. How the hell do I get ahead? Where do I look to go? And I just want to know like what market should I be looking at? I don't even know where to start really. All I know is I see these big commercial complexes come up everywhere, and I'm just drowning in the middle of them. So I have no idea what to do.
Well, and it's really interesting because, being from California, California is probably I'll say it is the most difficult market to learn to be a real estate investor. Obviously you have San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York City, where just the cost, Vancouver, where the cost of living, the cost of real estate is exorbitant. Part of it is one or two things. It depends what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to live where you want to live, if you want to live in California, you can invest elsewhere. You can invest in different states and different cities and use technology with FaceTime and Skype messages. You can run a crew in different areas, and actually, I'll argue it makes you a better investor, where you can look at the rehab being done with comping properties nowadays. Everything is, you can use computers, Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, Realtor.com to run your comps. With Google Maps or Google Earth, it's easy to drive a neighborhood when you want to go, what's this neighborhood look like? Like I got a deal in Galveston, Texas. I don't know what Galveston, Texas looks like. And this happened to be not in such a great neighborhood, but I could Google drive the neighborhood and go, I'll take a pass on it, right? One of the decisions are, you going to be a remote investor, or do you want to move to a city and just kick ass? You just want to say, look, I'm going to move to Florida, no state tax. I'm going to move to a place that is just in general easier to get ahead. So it kind of depends what the personal game plan is, because the real estate game plan can be shaped to fit the personal game plan.
I guess really with getting started is, I do have a small savings, and I've seen other influencers or people who are prominent in the real estate game talk about buying multifamilies or apartment complexes, and then when I look at how much money they put down, I'm like, I don't have anywhere near that amount of money. You're crazy.
$5 million down.
Like with Grant Cardone, like he was talking about his first apartment complex, and his down payment was around $300,000. I'm like, okay, I've maybe
forever ago.
Yeah,
because Grant's been doing it forever.
Exactly. But I was like, all right, I have like 10% of that.
Right.
if that. With circumstances the way they are now, with the internet and the prices of everything, and now, all the booms in all these new cities, like Austin, Nashville, and all that. What would you do right now with a small savings? Like where would you start? Because I hear people on the internet go, oh, you do house hacking, you go multifamily, you buy a single resident,
Right.
But everyone's contradicting each other. What do you think?
I think it's kind of like 31 flavors of ice cream. I like Rocky Road. I don't know how many people like Rocky Road. You might like chocolate chip, right? So we all have a different flavor. There's no one right answer. There's no magic cure here. But Grant Cardone's a perfect example because, Grant's the real deal. He thinks beyond what most people think. He's a major player. And I have friends like that are major players. So their idea of flipping a, $200,000 house wouldn't come across their thought process for more than like a second and a half. The answer is just no. What Grant relies on is he relies on your ability to go find the big money, to call mom, dad, brother, sister, best friend, pull people together, because somehow you do have to come up with 300 grand, 500 grand, 3 million. I think the reality for most people is that, and he would probably say like, oh, you're not thinking big enough, which is true for everyone. But I think you got to start somewhere. So house hacking is, I guess that's what you call it nowadays. One of the easiest ways to get into real estate is to buy a fourplex. And you live in one of the units, so you're renting out the other three. You get an FHA loan, which is a first-time home buyer loan. It's a loan that is pretty flexible. It's pretty creative. Very little down, maybe 5% down. But what happens is you can buy that fourplex and buy one that maybe is, you don't want to buy one that's a dom. You want to buy one that's in decent condition and make it better. And then you would live in one of the units and you'd collect rent from the other three. So arguably you could live for free. And then the money you're used to paying, like the California money, let's say you did that in Florida, where a fourplex might be 200 grand. Versus in California, it's $1 million, right? And when we talk about California, we're talking about Orange County, San Diego, Los Angeles. We're not talking about Hemet, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. So if you did that, that'd be really cool because one, you own a piece of property, you got the tax write-off, you're collecting rent. And then you fix your unit. When your unit's really kind of spruced up, then you'll rent your unit out, then you move into this unit. Then you'll fix that one up, and then and the next thing you know, over a year, you'd have a really nice place. The difference is everyone will tell you to sell it, and then kind of buy up. Instead of selling it, you keep it. Because then what you do is you can hack it again a second time. People don't understand with FHA loans, you can get more than one FHA loan.
How?
It has to do with the distance of the property. It has to deal with some employment variables. There are variables, they're hacks, the FHA loan, that allow you to have more than one FHA loan. So you can go from a fourplex to say maybe a duplex.
Is this nationwide? You can do this hack? Okay.
Yeah. So think about that. If you could have 4 units and then move out and then move into maybe a duplex, or 2 on 1, 2 homes on 1 lot, instead of a duplex, like 1 building with 2 units. Well, then what? Same thing. So you'd live in one and then you'd rent out the other, fix it up. Instead of selling, you move. So now what happens? You've got 6 units bringing you income. Then a great house hack would be, if you live in a place for 2 of the last 5 years, you could sell the first place, whatever you make would be tax-free. So if you sold it, made $100,000, you'd have $100,000 cash and 0 taxes. So now you got money to put down on something. So either you can keep it and rent it and go, hey, I got a little income coming in and build a nest egg, or you could sell it and get a great payday. But you got to live there for 2 of the last 5 years. So you can live there in year 1 and year 5. You can live there in year 2 and 4. You can live there 1, 2, and then keep it for 3 more years and let it appreciate, and then sell it on year 5. So that's like one house hack to get into the game.